Now, before I move on to some real subjects, whilst on this skullduggerous subject of TV broadcasting, several times whilst broadcasting the shows on Showcase TV, viewers emailed me claiming they thought Richplanet was being interfered with during the shows, and the signal deliberately intercepted somehow, particularly on controversial shows. Many times the signal seemed to be interrupted at key moments in particular programs. One example of this, which occurred recently, was a show featuring Neil Sanders talking about how the CIA used the music industry in the 1960s to spread the use of LSD in order to test the drug out on young people and see if it could be used to control and manipulate them. To back this up, Neil gave a quote from John Lennon, and just at the point where Neil starts to read John Lennon's quote, the audio cut out completely and was immediately switched back on as soon as the quote had ended. Here's the quote that appeared to have been censored.
Fool. He was asked by Playboy magazine if he'd ever still use acid, and he says, not in years, a little mushroom or peyote perhaps, it's not beyond my scope. You know, maybe twice a year or something, but you don't hear about it anymore. People are still visiting the cosmos, and this is a telling thing. He says, we must always remember to thank the CIA and the army for LSD. That's what people forget. Everything is the opposite of what it is, isn't it? So get out the bottle, boy, and relax. They invented LSD to control people, and what they did was give us freedom. Sometimes it works in mysterious ways. It's wonders to perform. If you look in the government reports on acid, the ones who jumped out the window or killed themselves because of it, I think even with Art Linklater's daughter, it happened to her years later. So let's face it, she wasn't really on acid when she jumped out the window, and I've never met anybody who's had a flashback on acid. I've never had a flashback in my life, and I took millions of trips in the 60s. The point that he's making is that he is aware that the military-industrial complex originally introduced LSD as a way to stymie dissent and to basically get people into a big heady fog so that they can't actually achieve anything of any use.
All right, Neil. You might ask, why would they want to censor that particular quote from John Lennon? Well, maybe the same reason they murdered him. One reason might be that this practice is still going on, that the music artists of today being listened to by millions are still being used as tools of social control and dumbing down. Now, a great deal has happened recently in our news about the fiasco going on in Syria, which is just another country on America's hit list with the intention to bring about world domination. America is doing all it can, with the help of the CIA, MI6 and other shady groups, to engineer excuses to get rid of the current Syrian government. Note, I use the word government, not the disgustingly loaded word used by mainstream media, the Syrian regime. Ooh. Of course, Syria is not the final target on America's hit list. Many more will probably follow, including Iran, which America have suddenly started trying to be all pally with. I'm sure this is just a short-term tactic of deception while they get Syria out of the way, which is proving slightly problematic. Let's just ask the question, who is threatening who here? Here is a map of Iran. Each dot on this map is an American military base. Now let's look at a map of America and plot the Iranian military bases around the United States. There don't seem to be any. Who is the true aggressor here? It's not a difficult one, is it? A few months back, I briefly reported on a recent animal mutilation case on Dartmoor in Devon. It was reported in Mail Online, and the headline read, "Satanic cult blamed for ritualistic killing of Dartmoor foal, which was horrifically mutilated in the centre of a ring of fire during full moon." Here's animal mutilation expert David Caton.
Pony case of Dartmoor, which was just in July this year. The press were reporting from some unknown witnesses there was a ring of burn marks around the horse, implying some satanic cult had taken place, and they'd lit fires or candles or a mixture of both as part of the ceremony around the poor animal. But that's not the case, because they weren't fire burn marks, because Jenny Thornton of the Southwest Equine Protection Group, who went to the scene and took some excellent pictures of the 2-month-old foal, a male foal, and she said these brown patches around the animal, and they weren't in a neat circle, they were sort of circular, you might say, but again they were stained brown, as though, she said, where animals sometimes urinate at the same spot, like we found on the lawn with the dog, you know, if it always wheezed burns the grass.
Right.
It wasn't fire burns.
Right.
So
okay, so something else.
Something else, yeah.
Other than a satanic cult fire as
absolutely, yes.
Right.
It was just the media making the excuse for the death of the pony, you know.
Right. Okay.
Which the police went with for a while, and then they finally issued a report in the last 10 days to say, after the result of their investigations, it's animal predation. End of story. Close the case. Right. Which is quite ridiculous. Yeah. And very annoying to the people on the Southwest Equine Protection Group and other people who know it can't be. Right. Know what predators can do and what they don't do, you know.
I wonder if Mail Online are going to correct their totally misleading story. Of course not, because it is misleading for a reason. And that reason is mainstream media are not allowed to report animal mutilation cases truthfully because they have to comply with the cover-up on this issue. Now, I've been investigating cases related to animal mutilation and will be launching a new film later in the year, so keep your eyes out, not literally, for that, details to be announced shortly. Now, if you've watched the latest Richplanet film, Almost Identified Flying Objects, which is available to watch from the website via this link, free of charge, you will know that I suspect it is likely there are secret underground facilities in the UK being used to house undisclosed silent flying triangular vehicles. Here's a clip. All the activity on this map took place recently, between 2010 and 2012. The red arrows indicate where black triangles have been seen moving, and the arrow indicates the direction. The red triangles show where triangular craft have been seen hovering. A total of 9 separate black triangles have been spotted around Todmorden over the last 2 years, and that's just cases that have been reported. There could be hundreds more unreported. Could the triangles be returning to this area and be using it as a base to access some of the other areas where triangles are commonly seen, such as Stafford, Lincolnshire, Derbyshire, East Yorkshire and further afield? Another important thing to note here, there is not a single piece of witness testimony of a silent black triangle landing at a UK military base. If they are returning to a base, they are not returning to known military bases. If I was asked to speculate, I would guess there might be a facility under the land or inside a hill somewhere in the Todmorden area, which is possibly accessed via a water feature such as a lake or reservoir. But what I can say with absolute certainty is some group or groups are flying craft which are way beyond the capabilities of any publicly known aircraft. They are doing it right under our noses, and they are doing it without public permission. Are you happy about this? As I've said throughout the film, we need to find out where these things are going, then expose it to the world. If there are undisclosed secret bases being used to house these craft, I have some good ideas as to how they might be discovered. Anyone else who has further ideas, please get in touch via the website. In order to try and locate some of these potential bases, I have started a surveillance project involving surveilling certain parts of the UK with hidden cameras which have high UFO activity. I suspect it may take years to get some good evidence. The stealthy nature of some of these craft described by witnesses in the film suggests they may be hard to detect. So far in my research, I have not found any evidence of bases in the areas that I've been surveilling so far. I would like to appeal to members of the public on 2 counts. Firstly, I'm interested in people suggesting locations that may be active so I can fit my own surveillance equipment. Secondly, if any viewers want to purchase their own surveillance equipment, perhaps the video I'm about to show you will inspire you to get out there and monitor some regions of the UK yourself. After all, the more evidence gatherers we have out there, the more likely we will find evidence of undisclosed bases. So just coming out of Hebden Bridge now, on the road to Todmorden, and these towns run along the bottom of the valley. Very steep hills either side. And these are the hills that people have seen black, silent, triangular craft either hovering stationary or travelling slowly across, generally across from one side of the valley to the other. just arrived here in Todmorden, and the reason why I'm here is I'm going to be placing some hidden cameras in the area just north of Todmorden with the hope of catching some UFO activity. If you look at these cases across Britain, you find that there's a concentration in the West Yorkshire, Lancashire border region, which is where Todmorden is. It's right on the border. If you look at Ordnance Survey maps and just look at this particular region, that area north of Todmorden is very interesting because it's a huge expanse of land where A, it's extremely mountainous, and B, there are no roads for many, many miles. So it would be an ideal place to hide or land these particular craft, because I'm of the mind that the most likely place that they're going to is the land. I don't think that they're flying back off into space. They're always seen flying low, they're always seen flying slowly, and I haven't got many accounts of people saying, well, it flew off into high altitude or anything like that. Generally, they're just seen hovering low, traversing the landscapes. People go to UK military bases and they stand there and they watch the aircraft and they log the aircraft coming in and out of them. And I haven't got a single witness testimony of somebody seeing a silent black triangle landing or taking off from a UK military base. So if there is a base, it's an undisclosed base, and if it's going to be an undisclosed base, it's going to be somewhere remote. Now, there are other areas other than the area just north of Todmorden which are other candidates for this. There's an area north of Skipton which is has been alleged activity there in the past, and there's another area just northwest of Clitheroe, another very large area of unpopulated land. But I've chosen this area because it's a bit like if, let's say, you want to try and find where a beehive is, you just follow the concentration of bees, and as you get closer and closer to the beehive, the bees get more and more concentrated, so you can then locate the hive. And that's the kind of mindset that I'm using here. Now, if we look at this map that I've got here, I think the most likely place is in the vast unpopulated space in the centre of this map. Now, what I intend to do is to travel around the circumference of that area on the roads which give a view of the area. And what I'm going to do on the Ordnance Survey map, I'm going to shade in all of the areas that can be observed from the road, because if you're going to build a secret covert area for these craft, it's not going to be within visual sight of a road. It's going to be behind the local hills there. Now, there are a number of reservoirs in this area, okay, just the dark areas there, and I think there's a chance that a reservoir is possibly used. Now, that's just a hunch, don't know that. So, but the first part of the exercise is to circumnavigate this entire area on these very narrow roads, just shading in on the map the areas that we can see. Now then, once I've got this map, that will hopefully reveal locations that are more likely to be used as some secret facility. And once I've identified those positions, I'm then going to use one of these. These are hunting cameras. Alright, so people use them, they'll put them out, the batteries will last for up to 3 weeks, and this one's got 3 PIR detectors, so there's a very wide field of view that it detects motion in. When it detects motion, it will take a sequence of photographs, and they work at night because there's an infrared illuminator here, and it'll take infrared pictures when the light is low. This device contains a memory card, so I've got a 16 gigabyte memory card in there. The camera comes with a mounting bracket, so you attach this bracket using this cord to a fence post or a tree, and you've actually got reserve batteries in the mounting bracket just there. So you've got 4 batteries in here, and you also have 4 batteries in the camera, so you've got 8 batteries in there. You then, as I say, you strap the bracket to the tree, and then you fit the camera onto the bracket, and then at say 2-week intervals you check the camera. It's got a little screen on the back here. You can actually review I've got a password there. You can actually review the photographs that have been taken on site using this LCD screen. And what I intend to do is just to leave them running, and every few weeks get someone to come along, change the memory card, and change the batteries. I'm not necessarily expecting these cameras to take photographs of triangular craft, but what I am suspecting, and I've bought 3 of them. I've got 3 of these hunting cameras, is to place them in that particular region, and let's just say one of them keeps disappearing, or one of them keeps being interfered with, or what have you, then that's perhaps a clue that we're getting close. And I do intend to put them in places where no one's going to see them. All right. Now you might say, well, if they're flying advanced craft, they're going to see an infrared light. They're going to be able to detect infrared. Well, perhaps, but as I say, I'm not necessarily doing this to capture images of the craft. I'm doing it to see whether any of these cameras actually get tampered with or disappear, because that then could lead us to a location. I think in the vast majority of cases, these craft are seen at night. This is Hepton Stall. Let me pull over here, and I'm going to start shading in the map. Quite high up now, and this is the start of the road which goes around the area that we're interested in. Shade this in, so we can't really see over the top of this hill. I'm overlooking Red Spar Moor. The road I'm on now is a very narrow track, and it cuts back through to Hebden Bridge across the middle of this unpopulated area, and this is quite a hairy road. Now there is another area to the north of this road, but I'm going to go back along the Hebden Bridge and just keep shading in parts of the map. So we've got a gorge to the left, or a valley to the left there, which we can see, so I'm going to mark that off on the map, but we've got no visibility over this hill. So now getting to the more remote parts of this area. Welcome to Calderdale. This is Widdop Reservoir, W-I-D-D-O-P. It's one of the larger ones, but I don't think they'd be building a base near a reservoir like this that's got a road running right the way alongside it. So we'll continue on. I've driven along this road past Widdop Reservoir, which I've filmed. Then I went past, there's actually a pub here, but it doesn't look like it's frequented very much. It's quite remote, called the Pack Horse. Gone round a few hairpin bends here, and I'm just here. Okay, now there's a road here which actually goes to Gorple Lower Reservoir, and there's another one called Gorple Upper Reservoir. Now it's interesting that I was not able to see either of these reservoirs from this road, or from any of the roads here, or from the roads down here. So these 2 reservoirs are not visible via any road, which is interesting. And I guess this one isn't either. You can't see this reservoir by driving along that road, because there's a hill here. Now I'm just at the entrance. Well, I'm not the entrance. I'm the entrance to this road, which is there. You see that there, that road takes you to Gorple Reservoir. Now it's saying here, no access to Gorple Upper Spillway site via this entrance. And I'm at the gate entrance, which leads to Gorple Reservoir. The other entrance you're not allowed to use. We can walk to the reservoir, but it looks, that's well and truly padlocked. You can't get your vehicle along here unless you've got access to open that padlock. Very interesting that there's another sign just a little bit further up the road saying no off-road vehicles, no motorcycles on this land, because it's of scientific interest. But that's all you can see from the main road, just this end of the dam, and you can't see the other one at all, the other reservoir, which is further up. I'm going to drive along this road and see if it actually comes out at the reservoir or not. And it's this road ahead of us here. This land is part of the South Pennines Moor Site of special scientific interest. Okay, so that's the second time I've seen one of them, and it seems to be specific to this area. Gorple Reservoir, 3/4 of a mile. Okay, so you can walk to the reservoir along this path, but it's 3/4 of a mile from this gate. This is the only other access point to these two reservoirs. I might as well walk the remaining 3/4 of a mile, as it says. This is pretty remote up here. They're right on the path. Now it's probably just a herd of cows, but I'm not going to risk it. There might be a bull among them. Shit. Right on the brow of that hill, I reckon you'll be able to see the reservoirs. Right, I'm now at a place called Hurstwood Reservoir. Now this reservoir is not easy to see from any road either. It is quite near the village of Hurstwood, where you've got the houses. Let's have a look here. Cant Clough Reservoir you can see from the road. I've shaded it there, you can see. So this section of the reservoir, you can see it from the road over here. Hurstwood Reservoir, which is the next one up, there's very little visibility from main roads. You can't see it on this approach road. I am somewhere down here in the car park. So this is Hurstwood Reservoir. You take a look at it. It's not overlooked by any roads or houses. It's very well contained. Interesting feature. They don't look natural to me. What are they? Some more up there. Right the way along the top of that hill. These mounds don't look... Are they natural? So this is very well hidden as well, this particular waterway here. I haven't actually seen this at all yet. You can't see it from that road at all, and I would imagine you're not going to be able to see it from these roads up here. But I do need to have a drive up these roads just to check. But you've got this is the huge area of land here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, well this is split into 2, 3, 4. All of these reservoirs you can't see from any road, and you can't drive along them at all. And to the north of them is this huge area of land. So and if you were to drive along this reservoir, you can see that reservoir from the road, but there's a very steep cliff running right along the side of here, which is all of this area here is completely obscured from view. You've got no visibility of this area here from anywhere, and in this zone here there are no walkways. The nearest walkway is this one going along here now, which is Pendle Way. It would be interesting to walk along here just to see what visibility of this area you have, but for me the areas which are possible candidates would be this reservoir, these two, and this area here. But it's a huge area. A mile is about that. So you know you've got an area 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 miles across.